I'm not hearing anything. I'm sorry, I'm not hearing anything. Can you hear me?
There you go. Good morning, Sheila. The meeting hasn't started yet, but we can hear you.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll mute.
I will call the meeting to order and ask Jared if we have a quorum. Great, thank you. Thank you. And first, I think we'll start with the members here. If those members could introduce themselves, and then we'll do our members online. So we'll start with B.
Good morning, B. Babbitt, Northern El Paso County.
Am I on?
You are.
Okay, good. Clark Becker. I'm here representing Teller Senior Coalition in Woodland Park, Teller County.
Great, thank you.
Gordon Rick, City of Fountain.
Laura Chronic, Town of Monument.
Don Kowaleski from Falcon out in the Eastern Plains.
Great. And Melissa, who is sitting over there as our staff person.
So Melissa with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
Great. And now we will go online, and I see Rosemary. If you could introduce yourself.
Hi, Rosemary Jaramillo with the Alzheimer's Association.
And I see that Jen just came on. So Jen, if you could introduce yourself.
Jen Nemo, Colorado Community Health Alliance with Park, Teller, El Paso County.
And I see that we have Sheila there, I think.
Yes, Sheila Williams, Park County.
Great. Thanks, everybody. And so we will move to agenda approval. If I can have a motion to accept the agenda.
I so move.
Second.
I think
Clark?
what we're hoping is that people can give their names so that we can get that into the minutes these days.
Yes, that was Laura making a motion.
Clark, second.
Thank you. And then if, is there any discussion, any issues? Okay, so then let's vote. Everybody say aye. Who's in favor of the motion to accept the agenda?
Aye.
Great, thank you. We will go on to consent items. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous RAC meeting?
This is Don. I so move.
Great. And do I have a second?
This is B. I second that.
Great. And then can we vote? Any issues? If not, then if you can raise your hand or say aye.
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 Great. So now we're down here to number 4, which is our public comments. And I understand we do have some public comments today.
Madam Chair, while we're waiting for Dolly to go to the podium, I'll just ask anyone who's online who would like to provide public comment to please use the raise hand function. That way we can move efficiently through the process.
Thank you, Jared.
Hello. First of all, thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all. I really genuinely appreciate it. I'm Dolly. I am the Volunteer Programs Manager for the Area Agency on Aging, and I wanted to share a little bit about what the program is working on throughout the month of November. Our agency is doing a holiday decorating event. We did this event for the first time last year, and it really made a very special impact. What we did is we got some older adults who could use a little bit of help during the holiday season to help them decorate their homes. We recognize that not everybody is able-bodied enough to do the physical work of pulling those decorations out of closets and garages, setting up Christmas trees, and all of the lovely things that come with putting the decorations up that are quite strenuous for even the best of us. But we didn't want those people to go without, especially during the holiday seasons when we really do want to combat isolation and loneliness. It's a very special time, and we know that it can be very challenging for some. So last year we organized groups of volunteers to go in, help set those decorations up. It was a really wonderful project that we will be doing again this year. We have already started coordinating with getting volunteer groups, and we already have some waiting in the wings. We are looking to get some older adults signed up, and the plan is to do this throughout the month of November. Right now, we've got chunks of time set aside every weekend of November. So we're just going to be matching the older adults with some smaller groups of volunteers to do that work. So I just wanted to spread the word about what we're doing here. And of course, answer any questions that you lovely folks may have about this project. Yes.
Hi, and thank you. How does one sign up for this? I mentioned it last time to the monument people, and I mean, I don't know how much they partook of the event, but how do we get the word out? And how would someone, if I wanted to do it, how would I sign up for it?
Absolutely. So we've got flyers in the community is kind of how we're doing a little bit of the campaigning, as well as reaching out to the folks who participated last year just as a base. Now, for new people who want to join us, on the flyers, you can either call my number directly. It has my direct extension. That is preferred for the older adults who want to get signed up because there's a little bit more conversation. We ask some base questions like, where are your decorations located? What areas of the home would you like to focus on? And we make sure to lay the ground rules pretty early on so that there's a very clear understanding and expectation. So we will make it clear that we're not going to be climbing any ladders. We're not going to be on roofs. Outdoor decorating is usually pretty minimal. We're talking about putting things on decks or wrapping lights around the banisters of maybe railings on the outside. Very simple stuff. Short, I don't know if they're trees, but shorter shrubs and bushes. We don't mind wrapping some lights around those, but that's the extent of it. We're going to be opening up to using a step stool. Last year, I didn't even allow that, but we'll bring a small step stool made for a toddler, so not very high, just to help some people if they wanted to do a little bit of decorating just a little higher up. But otherwise, we're keeping it very basic. And the volunteers have, they can either call me to sign up, or we do have a sign up form on our website. So ppacg.org/volunteering. Or if you go on that web page, you can also look for the volunteer drop down in our services menu. The volunteers can sign up that way. It captures some basic information, but there's still communication back and forth. Every volunteer does have to pass a background check in order to participate. That is a non-negotiable. But then we also talk about availability. And again, just really lay the groundwork for the do's and the don'ts as we kind of coordinate this so that's all above ground.
Thank you.
I have a question, Dolly. Is it one person per house, or are you going to have a team go, more than one person going?
We do more than one person for safety, but also for the fun. Now, I will say some of the homes that we decorated last year were quite small apartments, not a ton of space. So we just combated that by sending smaller groups. So the smallest group I believe that we put together was a group of 3 that went in to set up Christmas trees. And again, we do socialize, we chit chat with the older adult. We try to make it a more festive project that they're also participating in. And then for some of the bigger houses, I think we did a group of 4 or 5. But even the homes that were heavy on the decorations, even 5 people was kind of a lot, especially when you're asking an older adult to kind of coordinate and direct multiple people in different areas. It did get a little overwhelming sometimes. So we took a time out and sat with them a little bit so that we can take our time a little bit more with them. So I would say groups of between 3 and 5 are what we're looking to work with.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Dolly?
Yeah, this is Don. I have a question. Just curious, when you're setting this up, do you play Christmas music while doing it?
We did. We
Good.
wore Santa hats and dollar store antler ears,
Oh.
and we had music playing on our phone, very festive stuff. Or sometimes the older adult would put a holiday movie on the TV kind of as background noise. Again, very special experience. We got to open up decorations that were very sentimental. They shared their stories about holidays past, traditions, where their families are now, a little bit of how they celebrate the holidays. And it was very, very touching, sometimes very emotional, as the holiday stories can definitely be. But the impact was super great, and the volunteers had a really fun time.
Well,
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time. And then I will be emailing Melissa a digital version of our flyers as well, so that we can share them with you. You're welcome to spread the word. And of course, reach out to me if you have any questions. My contact information is going to be on those flyers as well.
Great. Thank you. We will move on to number 5 on our agenda, and that's action items. And Jared, I don't think we have any action items. Great. Okay, so we will move on to number 6, which is information items, and our A under there is presentations, and we have 2 presentations today, and we're going to start with Fountain Valley Senior Center. Mark Bowers, who is the director, is going to speak to us about the Fountain Valley Senior Center.
Am I on? Oh,
There, now
there we
you're
go.
on.
Got turned off. So, thank you all for inviting me to come today. There are exciting times that are beginning to transpire at the Fountain Valley Senior Center. And I'll cover some of those at the end of the presentation, toward the end of the presentation. For some of you who don't know a little bit of the history of the background of the Senior Center, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary, and it's gone fast. I've was born and raised in Security Fountain, Security Whitefield, and it has been a staple since 1975 out in the Security Whitefield Fountain area for the seniors. And so I put a little slide presentation together for you. It'll be quick. I just want to introduce you to a few of the seniors that we have that attend, and also share a little bit about the future of what's going to be happening out there. So obviously this is not me, but oftentimes people ask me, why do I do what I do? And I share with them a quick story. When I was growing up, my grandmother and I were very close. And this is my paternal grandmother, who I spent several summers with, and back in western Nebraska. And my grandmother loved going to the senior center. And when I was back there, I got to go with her. And the other grandchildren didn't want to go. But man, I said, let's go, Grandma. And so I ate a lot of senior center dinner lunches. And if you've never eaten a senior center lunch, you have not lived. But it was that time that I spent a lot of time at that senior center. And I learned a lot about seniors. And I met a lot of seniors, and I heard a lot of stories. And I learned that there were a lot of seniors that lived by themselves. And that senior center was a lifeline for them. So she instilled in me a passion for seniors. And through all the years of growing up and the many jobs that I did, and I looked for a reason to do a job, I always had in the back of my mind that I was to serve seniors. So 8 years ago, I walked into the senior center as a volunteer board member, and here I am as an executive director. Our mission at the Senior Center is to provide services and activities to older adults, which enhance dignity, support independence, and encourage involvement in the community. We strive to help seniors enhance their overall well-being by improving mental, physical, and emotional health. Through our programs and services, we provide opportunities for older adults to stay active, socially connected, and engaged, helping them find renewed joy, purpose, and meaning in their daily lives. So the key word here is socialization. So over the past years, I've done quite a bit of research, and I found that socialization is the key to combating isolation in seniors. I've also discovered that seniors who are isolated experience quicker mental decline and quicker physical decline when it comes to their ability to live. And I got to thinking about that. And the more I thought about it, I thought, how many seniors are out there who spend the day alone? And what can we do about that? And so I have shared that with the staff at the senior center. And we do have a transportation department. And I hear several stories from transportation about seniors. And I remind them that a lot of times we are their only connection to the outside world. Yes, they do have grandchildren. Yes, they do have children. But this day and age, those children and those grandchildren have their own lives. And so we are the key in a lot of cases to helping those seniors get out of isolation. And that's why we do what we do. And so we have to remember that. And yes, that senior may be grouchy, but you know what? That's why we do what we do. And we choose to do that. Why socialization matters. Social interaction is essential for seniors, fostering a sense of community, combating isolation, and enhancing overall well-being. These are things that you all understand because you know people. You know people who are isolated. What are the health benefits? Mental health, physical health, emotional well-being, funding cuts. A lot of time it's the elephant in the room. We all know it's there, We all know they're coming. Anytime we get together, it's on everybody's mind. Okay. And what can we do about it? We need to be vocal. We need to keep speaking up about it. Okay. And unfortunately, the senior population is the one that they go after. What's the urgent need? The urgent need is we need to find a way to continue to support senior programming. The importance again is mental health, physical health, emotional well-being. Three people, and their pictures are there. See, these are three of the most incredible, ornery at times, seniors that I see every day. George Munfat, retired veteran, served over 20 years in the military, raised his family, settled in Security Whitefield. His four daughters have moved on. He lost his wife 10 years ago. He had to quit driving 3 years ago. He comes to the senior center every day. And 90% of the time, he's the most fun guy. 10% of the time, he can be very ornery. Okay? But if you come out to the center and you play dominoes, you better hang on, because he will clean you up. And I mean, but once a month he comes in to remind me that he has a new family, and it's a senior center. Margaret Wood comes in every day, a transplant from New Jersey, who born and raised, grew up there, got married there, raised her family there. Her kids all left. She was left in New Jersey and eventually made her way out here, lives with her daughter in the basement. Her daughter works 2 jobs. Her daughter charges her rent to help pay for the bills. And Margaret would be there every day if we were open every day of the week. Otherwise, she would be at home, and probably in 2 years, her picture would probably be in the paper because she would die of isolation. Nancy Sewall, quite a character. 3 years ago, she was driving. She shouldn't have been driving, but she was. And one day she had a stroke. She couldn't drive anymore. Thank goodness. But that's another story. She lives alone. She still lives alone, but she never worked so hard in rehab to be able to get back to the center. She walks with a walker. She still has problems with her left arm. But when we take trips to Branson, Missouri, San Antonio, Texas, she is the first one to sign up. She is not going to let that defeat her. And she will come to that center and she will be there, and She has a radar like nobody else. When a new person walks in, she is on them like nobody else to introduce herself and welcome them to the center. Community connections are incredible. Connections important, engagement's important, and the joy of being part of a community is phenomenal. So what's the future of Fountain Valley Senior Center? We're going to start to find out on Sunday. Through a generous support of the Myron Stratton Foundation, the Fountain Valley Center has entered into a collaboration with AJS Consulting firm here in Colorado Springs. They are a nationally known consulting firm who works with nonprofit organizations. And they work with nonprofit organizations to consult with board members to look at marketing procedures, the marketing scheme that we have. They work with nonprofit organizations on getting them on track with grant proposals, what our strategy is going to be, and what we hope to accomplish. And there are going to be some exciting things that are going to be happening at the Senior Center. And one of those things is going to be twofold. I am hoping and I am encouraging the board to look for ways that we can reach out to those seniors who are in isolation and introduce new programs and new ways that we can bring them into the center or take programs to them to get them out of isolation and bring them into being part of the Fountain Valley Senior Center. So this is a slideshow that I do when I do presentations to organizations. So we currently have 600 members of the Senior Center. We have a mailing list of over 1,000 households. We are hoping that we are looking for organizations that share the passion that we have and the hope that we have to get seniors into social situations, hoping that they will be able to stay in their homes and find the joy of living with others. This is a picture of the trip we took to San Antonio. And we went to Luckenbach, Texas. If you've ever been to Luckenbach, Texas, about 3 people, population is 3 people, so it says. But we are proud to partner with PPACG. And we appreciate everything that PPACG offers to us. And transportation is a very important part of that. So thank you for allowing me to talk. I may have talked more than I thought I would, but we really do support PPACG and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Does anybody have any questions? It was a wonderful presentation. Right.
No questions.
Oh, I'll make a comment. We have not met at Fountain Valley Senior Center in a while as a RAC. We were supposed to try to get there this summer, and I apologize that we did not make it down there, Mark. But I will tell you that I've gone down there quite a bit to visit, and that place is packed. You guys do a really good job bringing people in and having activities and really some pretty good food and a lot of volunteers who really support you and help make that senior center work. It's amazing how many people are buzzing around there with their jobs and the things that they do, and none of those people are paid. So kudos to you guys and your community, and I'm really looking forward to the work you're going to do with the consulting team to come in and help you guys create a new 2026. So good job.
Thank you much. Y'all are welcome to come down. Fountain, we're in Fountain. Come on over. Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you, Mark. And we have another presentation this morning, and that is our own area agency family caregiver program. And Lucy Cahill is going to speak to us.
All right, good morning. Nice to be here today. So, I am with the Family Caregiver Support Center here at the Area Agency on Aging. In our Family Caregiver Support Center, we have basically 2 full-time employees. So we have myself, and then I have Jennifer Horn and Kendra Carpenter, who each do 20 hours a week. Jennifer is a LCSW. She's actually working on her doctorate right now of social work, and she is also an NMIT, which who knows what that is, but it does have to do with the fact that she is a natural medicine facilitator in training. So she is also working on that program to become a psilocybin facilitator to work with older adults in a whole different way. So very ambitious, but I love having her. She's a researcher at heart. So anytime I say, gosh, I wonder what, she jumps on and produces a 38-page document for me. And then Kendra comes to us with a lot of experience in case management, guardianship. She actually acted as a guardian for many older adults here in El Paso County for many years, working with a company called Care Planners. So lots of experience here at the Family Caregiver Support Center. I've been working with seniors for over 25 years. I have experience in home care. I ran the HCBS department at Interim Healthcare for about 10 years. Well, I didn't run it for 10 years. I worked for Interim for 10 years. That was 3 or 4 years, but lots of experience. I learned a lot at a home care agency. And then I published 3 of the 7 seniors blue books here in Colorado, which took me kind of all over the area. I was a very good friend of the Area Agency on Aging for many years. I sat on this very board for over 6 years. Somehow, if you fill in for someone in a term, you actually get to stay on for longer than 6 years. So yes, so I maxed myself out of the RAC board quite a few years ago, but again, a great learning experience and a good understanding of Area Agencies on Aging. What I thought when I first started with the Blue Book was that every area agency on aging was the same as us. And I got out into the big bad world and realized, no, it is not. So while we all are given the same funding buckets, we all use them in different ways. And so we are very fortunate here to have the kind of family caregiver support center that we do. My predecessor, Kent, and his predecessor, Patty, really did a great job and sort of forged the way for many other area agencies on aging. So why family caregiving, right? Why does the federal and state government give a lot of money to support family caregivers? Well, they are an expensive group. So there are 63 million unpaid, untrained family caregivers across this country. And when we're talking about family caregivers, we're talking about not just family connections, friends, church groups, neighbors. Those are all considered family caregivers. Anybody that's providing care to someone else is a family caregiver. So however you want to use the term family, that's okay, but anybody providing support is family to us. So as I mentioned, 63 million of them across the country, 600,000 of those are right here in Colorado. So it's an expensive, like I said, it's an expensive bunch. That 63 million costs our country in a variety of different ways about $60 billion a year. lost wages, not contributing to Social Security. Caregivers on average spend about $7,200 of their own dollars to provide care to their loved ones. For some people, that's almost a third of their income. That's a lot of money that they're having to put out to support these other people. So we get to do a little bit of that for them. And that's why we are so interested in supporting family caregivers. I mean, they are the backbone of our healthcare system. If you haven't realized that yet, that's the message to hear today. They're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, they're all the things. They're not sleeping. So family caregiver support. So some of the things that we do to support our family caregivers, we provide free consultations. It's sort of, I don't know, the bulk of what we do day to day is providing consultations to family caregivers. So family caregivers call us, we book them a consultation, they come in, they spend about 30 to 60 minutes with us. We go through kind of 5 aspects of caregiving to make sure there's no holes in their plans. So we talk about medical diagnoses. You got to know what you're dealing with in order to provide good care. We talk about the legalities of caregiving, POAs, guardianship, all the things. I get the comment a lot of, oh, I thought my POA would do more. POAs really don't give caregivers a whole lot of power. If you need power, you got to go the guardianship route. So we help them navigate that, we help explain it, and we help give them the resources that they need to do what they need to do. We also talk to them about paying for care. Care is very expensive, and most folks are under the misconception that Medicare is going to pay for something, and they don't. So for the most part, long-term care is private pay. And when you're looking at $35 an hour for in-home care, if you think you need 24/7 care, that's about $25,000 a month. So if you have that kind of disposable income, you're set. If not, how else are we paying for that care? So we talk to them about the different options, reverse mortgage, Medicaid planning, long-term care policies, all of the things. We also educate them about the levels of care. I get lots of people that come to me that say, she needs a nursing home, and they don't even know what a nursing home is. So there's multiple levels of care, both in the facilities and at home. And so we educate our caregivers about what those different levels are. One of the things that a lot of caregivers find surprising in our consultations is that we spend a lot of time talking with them about support for themselves. Self-care, self-care, self-care. If you've talked to me about caregivers, you've heard me say self-care, self-care, self-care quite a bit, because in order to be a good caregiver, you have to take care of yourself. It's the oxygen mask in the airplane, simple illustration, right? If you're not breathing, probably going to be hard to keep your person breathing. And that's really the loud and clear message that we hope to get to caregivers is take care of yourself so that you can in turn take care of others. One of my favorite it's not my favorite statistic, but it's one of my favorite statistics to illustrate my point. 68% of spousal caregivers die before their care recipient. Yes, that's the reaction I like to see. Shock and amazement, because we put our own health care off till death do us part. Well, we're going to part before we should have because we didn't take care of that hip replacement we needed or that palpitation in our chest that we only feel now and again. We put those off because we're so concerned about our person. I tell caregivers all the time when they're sitting in my office, if you're in my office talking to me, your person is getting great care. I'm worried about you. And so we spend time talking about that and talking about where they go for help, where they go to get support, all of those things. Excuse me. One of the things that we do during that consultation is we assess to see if they qualify for our respite voucher program. I don't know, it's probably one of the things I'm most proud of is that we're able to give free care away to burnout caregivers. So last year, well, yes, in the past year, we've given out over 2,100 hours of respite care to the tune of about $73,000. So we have kept $73,000 in people's pockets that they didn't have to pay for. We were able to increase our voucher this year. We were able to give 12 hours every now and again. Now we're able to give 15. So once a caregiver comes in, if they qualify for our program, and it's pretty easy to qualify, it's somebody has to be 60 or older because we're the area agency on aging, and the care recipient has to be dependent in 2 of their ADLs, activities for daily living, bathing, dressing, toileting, walking, standing up and down, and eating, getting it from plate to mouth. Those are the 6 standard ADLs. They have to have a dependency in 2 of those to qualify for our program, or have a dementia override to where their person needs direction with, every bit of life. They can probably bathe themselves independently, but if we don't tell them to do that, they will never bathe ever again. So that's how they qualify. Once they've qualified, we give them their first 15 hours. They contract with one of our providing agencies here in the community. We give them the first voucher for 15 hours, and then they go on our rotation list. When their name comes up again on that rotation list, we call them and say, you're eligible for another 15 hours. So it's really intended to give that caregiver a break. I also like it to be kind of a foot in the door for folks who are a little resistant to care. I tell them to give them a little fiblet when you get home and let them know you won a prize. You're 70 years old. You get 15 hours of free care. However, we can get that foot in the door to get the care coming in. We look for those ways. And hopefully they see the beauty of non-medical home care and what it can do to support. And then they book extra hours in between. But if not, they know that they're at least going to get that 15 hours every few months as it comes up. So we did about 300 consultations in the past year between the 3 of us. The other thing we do on a day-to-day basis is we answer a lot of questions. We probably take, on average, maybe 40 or so phone calls in a week. And, it's everything from, we moved Dad up here from Texas and we don't know what to do with him now, to they're getting discharged on Tuesday and they can't negotiate the 15 stairs to get up to the bathroom. What do we do? So we spend a lot of time just answering questions when people call in. If it's going to be an extended conversation, again, we try to book them for that consultation so that we can spend the time that they need. We also do a monthly support and education group called Caring Conversations. It's not a real traditional support group in that we also offer education. So I mentioned that we have those 5 different categories we talk about over and over in our consultations. So for our support groups, we bring in a community speaker that can educate on one of those topics. Last month, who did we just have? We had a dementia expert. It's always a popular one because it's a free dementia expert that they can say, what do I do when she does this? And they get those questions answered. Next month, we have a Medicaid planning agency coming in to talk about paying for care. And then they do a 45-minute presentation, and then we break off after that into a 45-minute support group. One of our goals this year is to expand our support groups. Oftentimes traditional support groups, you find your village, right? And you get your core group and you meet month after month, week after week, whatever it is, and you bond and all those things. Our support group doesn't sort of lend to that because of the education piece. So we're looking at doing more sort of focused and direct and more traditional support groups going into this next year. One of the things I really want to do is a men's support group. We have a couple of male caregivers in our program, and they just all need to get together and talk, I think. So we're going to give that one a try. We also teach a class called Powerful Tools for Caregivers. It's a 6-week evidence-based class. And a lot of our caregivers think they're going to learn how to, give a shower and help somebody stand up out of a chair. And indeed, we do not teach that. What we do teach is goal setting. We teach emotional regulation. We teach communication skills, all the kind of self-management things folks need in order to be good caregivers. So it's a great class. We love teaching it. We're doing it about twice a year. This past class, we just finished in October or September. I can't remember. Anyway, one of the publications, either the Beacon or the Pikes Peak Senior News, did a little blurb for that in their WAN ads or classifieds. We had a waiting list longer than we could take in the class. We're limited. We can only take 15 people, and our waiting list was longer than that. So we're in a holding pattern. Powerful Tools is they just printed the new book, and it's going to be a workbook. We're excited. I know I'm giving you way too much information, but we're excited. But now we're waiting for the new materials to teach the class. So hopefully we will teach another class in January. If we continue to have that kind of waiting list and I can butter Jody up enough, we're going to do it 3 times a year instead of just twice. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the plan for that. We also do Caregiver Pampering Day, which is a fabulous event. Once a year, we get caregivers all together. We feed them breakfast and lunch, and we provide hopefully a day of fun and pampering. So we do things like paraffin hand waxing. We had a juggler, so much fun. We did a cardio drumming. Cheryl, our dementia expert, did a serenity nature grounding walk, was one of our most popular activities. And so we're really kind of developing it into a day of fun. In the past, we've offered things like stress management, Take 5, and we did a grief support group. And we've decided to get rid of all of that this next year, and we are just going to have fun. We're going to do things like the juggling, the hand waxing, the haircuts. Our goal is for them to forget that they're a caregiver for that 6 hours that we have them. We also will provide respite to their person so they have no excuse not to come and get pampered and have a good time. This year, our theme is going to be Garden of Gratitude. So we have already brainstormed a million wonderful ideas around that theme. So anyway, you'll hear more about that as we go. Super exciting news. We were Melissa, our wonderful Melissa, I word vomit onto her desk, and she turns that into a grant that we got awarded. So Easter Seals said we want innovative caregiver programs, and if you haven't noticed already, I like to have fun. And so I said our caregivers need to have fun too. So we came up with the idea of a recreational respite grant, and we were awarded it. And so we have a play specialist in town. She's going to go out and work with sort of mid-level to more advanced dementia folks. One of the things that caregivers often find as their person's dementia increases, the ability to communicate and have meaningful connections decreases, right? It's harder to communicate as the dementia progresses. So our play specialist has a company called Play to Remember, where she develops basic games and tailors them to the level of dementia. And so the program, how it's going to work, it's 3 visits. So Phyllis will go in first. She'll work with the care recipient, tailor some games to their level. When she comes back, she's going to work with the caregiver and that care recipient, teaching them how to play, teaching, how to cater the games to the right level. And then on the 3rd visit, she's just going to observe, making sure that the caregiver and the care recipient are, having the interaction. And then she's going to leave behind 6 games so that they have, other things to do that they can come back to further down the road, or not just, one and done. So we have 24 of those to give out this year. So if you know anybody in mid stages of dementia that has a family caregiver, we would love to send Phyllis on out there to provide that care. So anyway, so we'll see how that goes, but it was really my first experience with a grant, so I'm very excited about it. And I found out how easy it is to apply for a grant from my chair because we have Melissa. So thanks, Melissa. And then our bag for the year, our big, hairy, audacious goal for this year is to assemble our volunteer respite army. I get lots of calls asking for respite that we can't provide for one reason or another. Either they don't qualify for our program because they're on hospice or in a facility or things like that, or it's a last minute thing. So if we assemble a volunteer respite army, we could fill those gaps. And when somebody calls me and says, I need to have a 3-hour visit, my own medical appointment covered and I have nobody else, we're going to be able to do that. So again, word vomit onto Melissa's desk and she spins it and turns it into a program. So it's going to be, like I said, a big, hairy, audacious goal because it is probably not going to be easy to get to. But we have such a great team here between Melissa and Dolly and some of our interns that we'll use to the full capacity that we can to make it happen. So again, if you know anybody interested in becoming part of our volunteer respite army, I would love to talk to you and get you started. So I think that's it. I think that's probably enough. I have no idea how long I talked. Sorry if it was too long.
No, that was great. And before I ask Melissa maybe to talk a little bit about those grants, so one of which you got, does anybody else have any questions? Yes.
Comment / suggestion. You were talking about getting the male caregivers together for kind of a meet and greet, so where they could talk through their issues and help each other. You may want to consider either catering or having an organization provide like some kind of brunch or something to get them to come to the first
Stopping them up. Yep. Bribe them.
food.
People love food.
Bribe them
Absolutely.
with
Yep.
food, whatever.
Great idea.
Whatever, to bring them into that first couple of meetings.
Yep.
And then you can kind of organize a potluck for future meetings.
Yeah.
So it's not so expensive over the long term, but just a suggestion.
No, I love that.
You guys, you're obviously on top of it. You're professionals, but just wanted to provide that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
I have a question. Those kind of support educational things that you have, is that on Zoom or do people have to come in for those?
So we don't do them on Zoom. We sort of do. So a support group is not great on Zoom, right? We like to be touchy feely and you just don't get the same, from Zoom. So for that reason, we've kept it off Zoom. But I have recorded some of our speakers and those are on our website. And so when our speaker will allow us to, and like we don't do the dementia one because people are asking some pretty personal questions and, but like when it's just a presentation like Kim's on next month, we will probably record. That way we can keep it on our website so that people can go back and watch it. So it's kind of hit or miss. But
And
yeah.
the reason why I ask that is initially it might be hard to get people to come because they're afraid of leaving their home, even if a person is coming in and providing respite during that period. And maybe just an initial first or second session to help them integrate, and then they may feel like coming.
Yeah.
And my other question is, I lived in Spokane, Washington, and I worked for an area agency, and we had a daycare. We had a daycare program. And I've never asked Melissa this. Do we have any full-time daycare in the area?
There's 3 or 4 of them now. There's Voyages, which is a Goodwill program, Second Home, Meridian. I think that's it. And our voucher program does cover, we work with Voyages. So our voucher program, if they don't want in-home care, they can do, we give, instead of 15 hours, it's 8 4-hour sessions. So they can go 8 different times for 4 hours up to the Goodwill program.
Yeah, our daycare was fully funded by the area agency. And so there was a sliding scale. So it was very reasonable for a lot of folks. I worked there so long ago, I have no idea if that program is still going on with a lot of the funding issues.
Yeah, and it is, it certainly is financially more economical than bringing in-home care. I think the Goodwill program is around, and don't quote me, call them instead, but I think they're around $100 for a full day, which, you're going to get about 3 hours for $100 coming into the home. So, it is a more economical way, but it is really for the right person. Adult days aren't for everybody.
For sure.
And again, depending on how their dementia presents, sometimes they're not even appropriate for a sort of public population. And that definitely, as Mark knows, comes, back to who's providing that care and whether it's a good fit for their population and all of those things. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sheila, you have a question?
Well, part of the question you also asked was concerning videoing the class. Since I represent a very rural area in Park County, we do have, certainly not the numbers that you have, but we do have some individuals who are caring for loved ones in their home. Is there any way that we could actually, and I don't know how this works, but get a bus to get our caregivers down to your program? And since you're limited, we're going to have to really schedule this a way out, or in some way provide a place up here for some of those video presentations to get it started, because we do have some caregivers. And again, the respite program does not work for us because there are so many miles between us and the respite volunteers or caregivers that the hours will be eaten up by travel rather than caregiving.
Yep. And Yes to everything, Sheila. We'll talk offline and Melissa and I will figure out a way to include you guys or have them available to you or something. And I mean, even if we need to, I just stood up here and said, oh, virtual support groups aren't great. But if we want to start a virtual support group, for your neck of the woods, me and my staff are happy to, set that up virtually and run that for you every month. So we certainly can talk further offline and, see what we can do to help support your folks up there too.
Sheila, Melissa was furiously writing while you were mentioning that issue. So hopefully you'll hear from them. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Don from the Falcon area. Do you get many requests from the Falcon or Callahan community for respite care and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, the beauty is quite a few of our providers through our respite program will go anywhere in El Paso County. So they will come out sort of to your neck of the woods. Some of them are going to have, depending on how far out people are, some agencies are going to have strict minimums. We're not going to come out unless you book us for at least 3 or 4 hours, to make it worth the while. But there are quite a few providers that will come out there. I mean, as that gap closes, right, it's now we're all one big happy city. So yeah, the gap's closing a little bit.
So do you have any volunteers from Falcon or Callahan to support respite?
No.
But now you got this new program.
So and we are very initial stages. So we haven't even started recruiting volunteers for our respite army yet. But yes, I would love to have volunteers in Park County and Teller County and in El Paso County, but in, pockets. We're going to call our Black Forest people because we have somebody in Black Forest who needs it. If I can, I have big visions and in my brain, this is a fabulous program and it's going to work just like that.
Yeah, we have a local newspaper. We have a local newspaper that Melissa knows about. So whenever you get that going and you want to advertise it, we can put it in the paper out there.
Thank you.
Black
We will
Forest
do that.
and
You'll be one of
Falcon.
our first calls. Thank
Okay.
you. You know who he is, right, Melissa? You got that?
That's why he's on our rack.
Yes. I know where you are at least once a month.
I think so go ahead.
Dee, do you have a question?
Could you tell me more about that Play to Remember program? What is the organization that designs that and
So
implements?
it's called Play to Remember.
Okay.
So we applied and got a grant to basically use Phyllis and her program to provide that kind of care or fun, I like to call it, to families that are dealing with mid-stage dementias. So she goes out and she teaches them how to play with their person so that they have a break from the monotony of caregiving every day. They have something that they can schedule in and look forward to and have a little bit of fun versus, running to the doctor or giving a shower.
Right. So that's the name of her company?
Play to Remember, yes, is the name of her company. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I can see so many caregivers, like you say, wanting to have some enjoyable time together, but trying to figure out what kind of a game could actually work.
Yep.
Might be a question, and she can help them figure that out.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. And she's so great. She was a elementary school teacher in her past. And she can just get people engaged and laughing, when they haven't forever. So it's really fun to watch. Like once she gets it and those folks engage, it's beautiful. So
does she only do the program through the area agency or
No.
she does it privately as
Yep,
well?
she does it privately
She has
as
a
well.
cost for that.
Yep. And she does work, she works with some of the facilities in town, she'll come in and do sort of group activities with the residents and things like that. So she's out and about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know if she has a website?
She does. Yep. It's called Play to Remember.
Great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for
Melissa.
So I have 2 comments, I think, and a question. And so first, I just want to remind folks, part of why Lucy is here today is because next month, November, is Caregiver Appreciation Month. It's holiday time. And that's one of the hardest times for caregivers is making it through the holidays and kind of thinking about all the memories and things that come up during holidays. And so, really an important time to think about appreciating caregivers, reaching out to folks that, are doing that, offer them, a little extra special care and support during November. And so that's coming up in November. So we appreciate you being here today. Online, we have Hadassah. She is our UCCS intern who is actually finishing up her undergrad degree in the sociology with Gero minor program, and she is hoping to go on to OT school. And she is working with us on the Respite Army program and some other things. She'll be with us through December, so not long enough, but hopefully we'll have another UCCS intern after that. And then my question for you, Lucy, I think you had somebody in your office this morning talking about kind of respite and dementia and possibly some changes that Medicare might be paying for that right now. Am I thinking that right, or is it too complicated and maybe
No.
save that for another? But if you could just like 3 minutes of what maybe you learned from that this morning, I would be curious, and I think other people would be too.
So Medicare is doing a pilot program. It's a 9-year program. We're about a year and a half into it. It's called GUIDE. It's, I'm sure, an acronym for something that I don't know what it is, but it's called GUIDE. And so it's basically offering folks on Medicare with mid to late stage dementias an extra level of care and support. The theory behind it, at least what I've been told, is that Medicare is trying to explore whether non-medical home care is actually worthwhile or not. I have a lot of mixed feelings about the program, and I can't not share my feelings. So while I think it's a fabulous program, and yes, we need the extra support, so they get 72 hours of respite care for the year, which comes out to 1.38 hours a week, if you look at it that way. It provides sort of RN oversight, so case management, social work, case management, caregiver support. So folks have to be on Medicare, but they can't be on PACE, hospice, long-term care, nursing home, Medicaid, or have a Medicare Advantage plan. All of those things disqualify them because the money's coming out of the same bucket, and it's that whole payer of last resort thing that I don't understand. But it's all coming from the same bucket. So pretty much straight Medicare, not Advantage plans. And then there's a couple of providers in town that I know of. Bloom Healthcare is one of them, and then Pocket RN is the other one. Bloom, my understanding is you can't call Bloom if you're not a Bloom patient. So Bloom is a primary care company that provides in-home primary care. So they work with a lot of the facilities in town providing the primary care to their residents, and then folks that can't really get out and things like that, they come into their home in private residence. So they are putting their folks on to this GUIDE program, the ones that qualify for it. So my understanding is you can't call Bloom and say I want to get on GUIDE. They will get you on it, but you're getting rid of your community doctors because now Bloom will be your primary care. If you go through Pocket RN, they work with your community doctors. And so I'm not 100% sure what all the criteria, the qualification criteria are other than the mid-stage dementia, and they have to have a family caregiver because the family caregiver is the one that's going to have to navigate this program. But again, doesn't have to be a family member. It can be a neighbor. It can even be probably like a memory care director. My guess is a memory care director is going to be enrolling a lot of these people in the facilities on this program. But they get that 72 hours a year of respite and the other things. And so in theory, my hope is that people use it for when they do come home from their episode, right? They're coming out of their rehab or their hospital and they need that support. It's hard to come home from whatever episode and pop right up and make your own meals and do your own laundry. So, being able to bring in that 72 hours for that episode should be very helpful. Of course it will be. So my whole problem with it is the 72 hours. It's not enough.
For sure. It would seem to me that the reason why they're looking into that is that people who come home, if they've had an incident and they don't have as much support as they need, will need to go back
Correct.
to a facility, which is costing a whole lot more
Yep.
than having
Yep.
that support coming in. And hopefully their information will show that.
Right.
And maybe it'll increase the support that they're
Yes.
going to offer.
And that's the hope. I mean, Medicare approved non-medical home care a few years ago, but they sort of put the cart before the horse because they didn't have anybody to provide it, because you had to be Medicare certified to provide a Medicare service. Well, none of the non-medical agencies are Medicare certified because Medicare doesn't pay them. So, it was kind of the cart before the horse, and then nobody accessed the benefit, and they're like, well, nobody used the benefit. Well, it was impossible to use the benefit. So my hope is that this is actually going to show the benefit of non-medical home care, because there truly is a benefit to it, and that Medicare will start paying for it. But this is a 9-year study, so we won't have results, for another 7.5 years, and then they got to, do all
And
the
who
things.
who knows what will happen to Medicare in the meantime.
Correct.
But, my understanding is that what's happening is that so many more people are attempting to go on Medicare Advantage. And obviously you can't get this program if you're on Medicare Advantage. And Medicare Advantage costs the government more money, actually, than regular Medicare does. And so hopefully they're going to see that this kind of service, if it's increased, can save them money.
Right.
And maybe make people who are on Medicare Advantage think about not being on Medicare Advantage. But
Yeah.
we'll have to wait.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
And people are just, providing the care free, so to speak. Hopefully people will take it. So we were just meeting with the guy, as Melissa said, that's one of the guys that's sort of helping promote the program in town. And he's working with the second one I said, I already forget, the RN one.
Yeah.
Pocket RN, thank you. He's working with Pocket RN. Now I totally forget my whole point.
Anyway, thank
Anyway.
you so much for that. Oh, Sheila, another question?
Very quickly, does your caregiver program coordinate with the VA caregiver program? Since we have so many veterans in the area, it is a very active program. I'm involved in it as well, but they do have coordinators, and I just wondered, I don't want to duplicate services, but wondered if you coordinated with them.
So, I mean, we don't coordinate really with anybody other than our caregivers, but if their care recipient is a veteran, we certainly help them understand what's available to that veteran and where they can go to determine that. And so they are, veterans are eligible for our program when they're receiving services through the VA. They no longer qualify for our program because the VA provides respite. So that's, we don't really work with them, but we do help folks understand if their person is a veteran, where they can go to understand what benefit he or she would have.
Thank you.
Okay, Melissa, maybe you can talk a little bit about that respite grant.
Actually, Lucy already shared it. And what it is just, the recreational respite program. So we're
Do you know anything about the other 3 grants that, as you said, there were 4 entities that are getting
Oh, yes.
grants?
Yeah. So we talked, yes. So yesterday was the quarterly provider meeting for, our region. And so the other 3 entities that have gotten grant funding to do the respite support are Porchlight Friends, Silver Key, and Teller Senior Coalition. And so, and those are really kind of your traditional model that you're, kind of providing a person to, head into the home and, do companionship, visit with, the care recipient so the caregiver can go and do whatever they need to do. So it's just additional money in our region to make sure that caregivers have access to those services.
And for how long are those grants?
A year. Yeah. And most likely, they will be applying and get those again, time and time again. This was our first time to do it, and we did it kind of with a very specialized program in mind.
Great.
So, yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Thanks.
All right. I think, thank you so much for your presentation, and I think we will move on. if we go to 6B, it's the membership subcommittee and our chair is Jen. I don't know if she has anything that she needs to share with us.
We don't have any current updates at this time.
And Jen, I'm going to jump in because I do have a little update that to share, and I haven't had a chance to give it to you yet.
Okay, great.
So yeah, so I have heard back from the Independent Center and Department of Human Services, and they are forwarding 2 people to be members with us. And most likely we will have those applications imminently, and they will be able to join the RAC at the next meeting, and they'll be able to participate in the technical review subcommittee. So we're looking forward to that. One of those individuals I think might still be on the call, and that's Lakita from Department of Human Services. And I don't know, Lakita, if you are on and if you wanted to just say hello to the RAC and share a little bit about what you do at Department of Human Services. And it looks like Jared has made it available that if you are kind of near your computer still and wanted to kind of just introduce yourself and say hello.
Hello. So I'm Laquita Allen with Department of Human Services. I oversee our adult intake area and adult protection. I'm happy to be here. So looking forward to what I can bring to the table.
Great. Well, welcome. And I hope that you found this meeting educational, and we look forward to your possible involvement in the committee. So thank you.
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to 6C, which is the Strategic Review Committee, and Laura is our chair. And just very quickly, Laura, do you have anything you need to add?
We have no updates.
Okay, super. All righty. And our technical review subcommittee chair is Gordon, and he had to leave. But I think that during the director's report or at some point, we're going to talk a little bit about the technical review subcommittee schedule of what's going to be happening in November and December. I don't know if you're doing that, Melissa, or
So Jody, he is online, and so he will talk about that. And I'll just remind everyone, we do have available today the conflict of interest statement that's super important for our members to fill out at this point in time as we go into the technical review subcommittee work. And so I do have those here today. And so for people who are in the room, please take a minute to fill them out before you go. And then for those who are online, I'll be emailing it out. And I do think Jody will probably also talk about that a little bit more in his report too.
and maybe Melissa, I know we were talking about possible committee members that may be involved in that subcommittee. I don't know if Jody's going to talk about that or if you have additional names.
I don't have the names right now at all.
Okay.
So other than, yeah, I don't have any that I can formally feel like I can put out there, because some of our folks that were on the technical review subcommittee, of course, with the changes with conflicts of interest, it's, they're not on the committee anymore. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of wait. And as we kind of move forward in the upcoming weeks, we'll be pulling that together.
I will mention that Gordon, who is chair, but that will be ending in January. And I have indicated myself, since I will no longer be the RAC committee chair, that I have indicated an interest in being the chair for that subcommittee. So why don't we go on, Jody, for the director's report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, everyone. Coming into you this morning from Crested Butte, where we are meeting as an entire state AAA association with our quarterly meeting. And so thanks for letting me join you here for a few minutes. And thank you for the 2 reports out from Fountain Valley Senior Center and from Lucy's team there with the Area Agency on Aging's Family Caregiver Support Center. Just a lot of great work going on despite so many of the challenges that we've been facing. So I'm actually going to back up just a second to talk about the TRS and the timeline for folks if they are considering being part of the technical review subcommittee. I thought I'd just touch on the anticipated timeline as well as expectations. And so Our RFPs are out right now. That's the request for proposals. That's the process that folks apply for funding, whether they are a new provider interested in receiving funds or a current provider. We do work on a 2-year contract period. That's to allow a little bit of rest between the 2 years because it's quite a heavy administrative lift for folks to complete the RFP. So we've gone to a 2-year cycle. It is important to remember you all as RAC members. We also reminded folks yesterday in a quarterly provider meeting that while it is a 2-year contract, that simply means that you don't have to apply again for the second year. The funding, however, is on a 1-year cycle, which means that it can vary from the first year into the second year. And of course, this year we experienced quite a lot of ups and downs, but ultimately we're able to maintain flat funding. And so that we did have an overall net loss in our funding, but ultimately with some carryover funds that did come in, we've been able to remain flat. So for the TRS timeline, thank you for putting that up there, Jared. So you can see there that the applications or the submissions are due by 11:59 p.m. on Friday, November 14th. And some people have said, why do you put that time? And it's because sometimes in the past, people have applied, put that through in literally the middle of the night, Friday into Saturday. So we have to be very, very clear as to the expectations on those RFP applications. So those submissions are due Friday, November 14th. By the end of that day. From there, staff, several departments, myself, Melissa, our contracts administrator and associate director Melody, along with finance staff, and even our some transportation staff, we will get together and review the RFPs. Have specific conversations related to transportation, for example, because the FTA 5310 funds are currently having their own notice of funding availability. And so we want to really approach our recommendations in a holistic way. But what we'll do is we will go through our own internal process first. Someone asked us, why don't we do that all at the TRS? Because it is such an in-depth process. We usually average between 50 and 60 hours in the preliminary reviews of the RFPs just as staff members. We will then convene a meeting with the TRS, and while we are doing our own internal reviews, the TRS committees will receive copies of the RFPs to review. They'll be expected to review those on their own and come prepared along with some scoring sheets that we'll provide to that combined meeting of staff and TRS members. We'll have a joint meeting to look at the recommendations that the staff has made, have final discussions and overall recommendations. We're aiming for the probably the first or second week of December for that, to give everyone time to review. Our goal is to bring that initial recommendation to the Regional Advisory Council meeting on December 18th. That's preliminary because there's just so much going on right now. We want to make sure that we are able to do that. As you know, if you've been part of this process before, we actually started this year's process a little earlier so that we're avoiding the heaviest parts of the end of the year holidays. And so hopefully we can get that part done. If the Regional Advisory Council approves the recommendations at their December meeting, then those recommendations will go before the Board of Directors in January. We won't receive our true final allocations from our state administrators until likely April or May. But in the meantime, our internal kind of behind the scenes, our staff will be preparing contracts preparing all the work that needs to be done to make sure that we can come to June 30th completion of the contract so that we have a smooth July 1 start of our new contract period. Now, what we do, because you just heard me say we're hoping to bring this to the board in January, but we don't really have our numbers until the springtime, what we do is we work on our actual allocation from this year, July 1. And so what we'll do is we will use that as our starting number, as our preliminary number. That'll be our working number. And then once we have our final fund allocations, we will make adjustments from there. In the past, they've been pretty minor adjustments because the state and the feds are just not keeping up with the needs. And so we have traditionally added those into a fund that then gets combined with carryover funding and put back out to the network. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. Right now, there's just a lot of questions about what funding could look like. So if you are interested in being part of the technical review subcommittee, please know that you can't be connected to anyone who's applying for the funds. Have you, if you're interested and you meet those qualifiers, just let Melissa or I know. And as soon as we have our first date set up with you, we'd love to have a minimum of 3 members because it is an informal voting process. And so we want to be able to show that we have that engagement from you guys as RAC members and STRS members. So while I can't see the full room, I'm thinking about certain people in the room that I'd love to have on the TRS. Some are new and some who have not been with us before. So there's a lot of great conversation, good engagement and camaraderie in making sure that we're serving our community together the best way we can. While I'm on the TRS, because this is where it affects it most, Jared, if you wouldn't mind throwing up the conflict of interest form. Melissa mentioned that she's got those on hand that you go ahead and fill out. It is really pretty straightforward. The conflict of interest previously, expectations previously were somewhat broad and generalized. Under some new aging rulemaking under the Older Americans Act, under the Colorado Department of Human Services, and our state unit on aging updates for July 1, and that was that these are already starting to take place in the procedure manual and our Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging procedures. But it's, I won't read this to you, but it does provide more clarity of who can serve on the committees, the subcommittees that review those what are within the Older Americans Act called the annual funding requests. We call them contract proposals or RFP applications. But anyone associated with any in any way with any of the agency that may be applying, whether they're accepted or not, may not be part of the TRS. What we do after the TRS, and when it comes to the Regional Advisory Council, you can see the second italicized paragraph. What we will be asking is any RAC member with actual or perceived conflicts of interest may still vote with the full membership at the RAC meeting. But what we'll do is we'll ask you to raise your hand, make that a public part of the public record, and then simply the board would approve you to vote on that, and then we would go through the actual voting process, because we do not vote line by line, we vote in whole for the recommendations. So just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. The conflict of interest statement is there. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to myself. I'm happy to answer that, but just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware of that and the expectations around that. The last couple things I will share are specifically related to right now, just how things are going on in our world of the Area Agency on Aging. And so my director's report is really just a recognition that we are just a few days away from the first part of coming up on the 30 days of the government shutdown. We're not being affected directly because our funds do come through the state. And so we do have a little bit of a buffer. But where we are anticipating some increased need or calls or walk-ins are really around folks who are being affected by their SNAP benefits and those who may be looking for additional resources because of those SNAP benefits changes. So for clarification, the SNAP benefits are good through if they've already applied for and received their SNAP benefits for October. Individuals will still receive those for the month of October. If there are funds left on their EBT cards past October 31st, they will be able to spend those down. However, no new funds will be added beginning November 1st. And so there are ourselves, Department of Human Services, several organizations out of Teller County, additional organizations like Pikes Peak United Way and Care and Share Food Banks, and many others have been revisiting their food pantry and commodities list to make sure that folks know where they can get those. I've asked our staff to pull everything that they might have to include Pueblo County, since they are so close to us, and there's a lot of crossover for folks who may travel between our region and Pueblo County. But we will have those available at the front desk starting Monday, so that anyone who may call in or walk in looking for resources, additional resources, will have those. We do not manage SNAP benefits. We do not fund any of those, but it's just important to know that this is a way that we can make sure that our community has access to those resources to find where they can access those. With that, that is what I have for this time, and looks like my battery is about to close down my computer. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those while I'm online.
Jody, I have just one question. How soon after the November 14th date do you expect you will be able to send those proposals to the members of the TRS committee?
Sure, thank you for that. The November 14th is a Friday. We will begin reviewing those internally on Monday and pulling those down. Our goal is to have those to the TRS members within the first few days of that following week.
Great, thank you.
So we have to review them, make sure that they qualify.
Thanks, Jody, for that information. And I think we're going to move on then to the legislative update. Jared?
Sorry, I thought I had a few more minutes with Jody. So good morning, everybody. Jared Werner, Public Policy and Communications Manager at PPACG. I'm going to touch real quick on SNAP because Jody did mention that. As of today, everything he said is accurate. There is some discussion about the state and federal levels regarding SNAP benefits specifically. At the state level, the governor is asking the Joint Budget Committee to allocate $10 million to be able to support SNAP in November. There's also some discussion at the federal level regarding SNAP benefits expiring on November 1st as well. So there are two tracks on that. The issue at the federal level is it would require the House to come back in session or pass that. But that's pretty much all I've got on the federal side. Jody pretty much covered it fairly accurately. We're on day 23 of the federal shutdown, and we'll see how much longer it goes. On the state side, and I pulled this up as well, but the board did approve its state priorities document at its last board meeting 2 weeks ago. Two large changes. One is larger than the other, but one is specific to seniors. They did incorporate a bullet point that came from the Commission on Aging regarding the senior homestead tax exemption and making that a permanent funding versus dependent on table refunds. So we'll see what happens. The reality is as you're looking at the state budget for next year, the latest budget forecast had about $800 million deficit for the next fiscal year. And the state homestead tax exemption is roughly about 250 million. So that would be on top of the existing 800 million that the state's forecasting being short for next year. So I think we understand that's going to be an uphill climb, but it's one that I think we're all ready to fight and advocate for. Also regarding the state budget process, the governor's budget proposal is due to joint budget committee no later than November 1st. So realizing that November 1st is a Saturday, we would expect to see a budget forecast or a budget proposal from the governor's office. I would anticipate mid to late next week. I also mentioned, and I forgot to mention, there's two things on the state themes document. One was that state homestead tax exemption. The other one being calling out local control. We've always had a local control component as part of our themes and priorities document, but it was tailored to the programs at PPACG, specifically transportation planning and aging and senior services. We have been pulled into those local control discussions, usually on the transportation side, just because they are combining that with land use. But as the function of the council of governments and that the board comes together to collaborate on common issues, that was one that they identified as one that they really wanted to focus on, even if it doesn't have a transportation to senior nexus. So we'll see what that looks like for the upcoming session. I will say kind of at the big picture macro level, we are seeing the Transportation Legislation Review Committee met for the final time in the interim session on Tuesday. That committee is authorized to propose 3 bills for a session. They only proposed 2. So we'll kind of see, like I said, kind of reading tea leaves. Does that mean that we won't see quite the 700 plus bills that we've seen in the last couple of years? We can always be hopeful. And then there was a lot of discussion on the budget. And so, like I said, we are the state is forecasting about being $800 million short for the next fiscal year. That's on top of a $300 million shortfall this fiscal year that needs to be addressed. So happy to answer any questions. Either on the state or federal, either on the state or federal side.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
And I have a very short report. I just want to say that my last meeting will be at our next meeting, which will be December the 18th. And the RAC will hopefully have made all its recommendations, and that will go then to the full RAC so that they can approve it for PPACG. And I would just like, and our next meeting on December 18th, which will also be a holiday party for those of you that are here. And I just want to put in a plug for being on the technical review subcommittee for those of you, especially who are new on this committee. It's really a really good way to see how the area agency funds the various programs that we do. I mean, you really get to see the whole process and what the proposals look like and how they deliberate that. I mean, we do have a couple of people. B has been on that committee in the past. I don't know if she has any other comments, but it really is a really interesting committee to be on.
I think you really get in. This is B. you really get into the nuts and bolts of what services does each organization deliver? How many people do they deliver it to? And what does it cost, to provide a ride for somebody a certain number of miles, et cetera. So you really get into the nuts and bolts. But for me, anyway, I've always found that extremely interesting. And then, of course, very extremely important when you're trying to, when you come up short on dollars. And then that's when things, when you have an excess of dollars, it gets more interesting because you can support a program that you might not have been able to before. But when you're short on
and
dollars,
how staff makes those decisions on what they're going to do so that we can utilize our funding for all of the programs. We haven't had a whole lot of new people asking for our funding, but I think, hopefully it's always good to get new agencies looking for our funding and expanding the kinds of things we do. And I failed to mention that Laura over there, being very quiet, will be the new chair of the RAC. She's the vice chair right now, and she will be taking over. She will be taking over as chair. And what?
Following the election?
Yes, following the election.
Just
for sure.
Just
for sure. And for me, I've been on for almost 2 years because I took over for somebody who got ill during, I think in 2024. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity for me to get to know more about the agency and the staff. So that's it for me. Any other questions? Okay, so do we have any discussion items?
I'll go ahead at this point and share a
Okay.
few things that I want to just get in front of the RAC and let you guys kind of know. So I did send out an invite to everyone to attend the presentation by our clerk and recorder and our county assessor last Friday at Silver Key, and some people did come to that. I did bring those resources with me today that people can take with them as they go, if they so desire. Also, that was recorded and is a podcast. It'll be released. I forget when we're releasing it. If we're releasing it in November or if we're actually releasing it here in the next week. So I apologize that I don't know that exact release time. Definitely worth tuning in and listening to them talk about what they're doing versus me just kind of repeating it very briefly right now. And so really important for not just older adults, but for other people who are really feeling the pinch financially with their budgets, because we do have some really good programs for people who own a home and are concerned about how to make ends meet. Of course, we've talked already about the senior property homestead exemption program, which people have heard a lot about. So just know that is still available right now for now. So that was one of the things that was talked about and the advocacy that's happening around it. Then we have an opportunity for seniors all people to escrow their taxes. Some people actually own their homes and then, believe it or not, find themselves in a pinch to pay their taxes once a year. Things happen, and it's hard for people to come up with the money. And so we do have a program now through our through one of those two folks. I think it's the county assessor, to escrow your taxes, and it's no cost. You can sign up to do that, and they will automatically kind of make that happen so that you don't have to come up with that one lump sum. And then there's a property tax deferral program through the state treasurer's office. That's really important too. So some people just really need to just defer their taxes, and how can they make that happen for a year? And then the last thing that our county clerk and recorder is going to be rolling out in the near future is a free program that you can sign up to be notified if there's any potential property fraud on your home. So no more watching those commercials and wondering what that's all about. We actually are creating that program, one of the first in the nation in
Wow.
Colorado. So
Great.
that's coming. So they talked about that as well. Really wanted to let people know about those 4 things. So next time you hear that an older adult just does not know how they're going to pay their property taxes and they're worried about it, even if they've just gotten the notice that now they're going to have a lien and they're going to go to auction, there are resources for them. And we get those calls at the Area Agency on Aging. So it's really good that we know that these 4 things are available for folks. So just wanted to really get that in front of the rack for sure. And I have handouts on that on the back table.
And I think legal services has, I mean, we fund legal services, and I think they will provide some assistance or some help with some of those things, if I remember correctly.
They do. So Colorado Legal Services will step in if there's an opportunity to, kind of help handhold a little bit with older adults to get some stuff done. Yeah.
Laura.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to say thank you to Melissa. I attended. I called it the Chuck and Steve show. And these 2 guys do a beautiful presentation, and it's fun. They make it fun. It was wonderful. So if you have a chance to listen to our own podcaster of the year facilitator, Melissa, you did a fabulous job. And if you have an opportunity to listen to it, please do. Well done.
I'll send out to everyone when it does go live. I'll send it to the RAC and the Commission on Aging when it does go live. That'll be a nice little reminder. And hopefully I'll remember too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and so we're now down to our meeting schedule. Again, we're not having a November meeting. Our next meeting is December the 18th at our usual time. And I'm assuming the RAC Executive Committee, we will not have one in November, but maybe we'll do one on December. December the 3rd would be the date, the first Wednesday of the month. And I'm thinking PPACG will have their usual, and I'm always getting this wrong, the second Wednesday of the month is when they have their meeting, and they will have one in November. Okay, great. So November and December. And I think that's it. Jody went over the TRS subcommittee schedule, and I think that's it. So I'm putting out a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do we need a second?
Sure. Laura, second.
Great. Thank you all for participating, and everybody have a wonderful time through Thanksgiving until our meeting in December. Thank you.